Oh, good. That's how I usually keep mine. Let's put on the hills.
The one I'm familiar with is Postmates, and it does not. Download 17 point upgrade package.
No, I didn't even see you really. Wearing socks.
Side connections are always fun. Generally, when something goes wrong, it's the spark.
Sounds like fun trying to connect them.
What's he trying to do? Oh no, normally connecting to a database is always the biggest pain in the ass. Like you get an entire stack set up, you're like, connect.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. He's sending out the link. For some reason, it's not working for me, but Nick clicked it and it shows the stream. So we'll go ahead. He's going to post that link. I'm getting a 500 internal server error from YouTube. All right. So on Saturday, we started a new chapter, MySQL. Right? How was MySQL? Like just a fist of 5 from 1 to 5, 10? Okay. 3,
I like it.
5, like it. A little bit easier. Okay. Okay, that's different. So let's see, what do we have for today? For today, we are going to look at MySQL day 2, but we are going to look MySQL from the Node.js perspective. We are going to combine Node.js and MySQL. That's the real power. Because in the real applications, that's what you will be doing. You will be writing applications that communicate with the database, and that's what we are going to look at today. Node.js and MySQL. How do we connect to both of those? and how do you talk to MySQL using Node.js, and how do you write queries in Node.js. They kind of bring the data into Node.js. Okay, yes. No, it's not working. Sorry.
Great.
I complained and they're saying, yeah, that's what I said just now, that, it seems like they're taking turns. You guys want to move this side? No? Okay. Oh, yeah, half the class turned that way and half turned. Okay. Second, we are going to look at the CRUD operations that we saw in MySQL on Saturday. How do we do the same thing in Node.js? The third, we're going to do a small group project after the break. Okay, so you will be building an application, write some query, write some query in Node.js, and then create a table in MySQL. Okay? All right. So going back, when we started MySQL on Saturday, what was the very first thing that we did? I open a MySQL Workbench. What's the next thing that I need to do? Create a connection. Yep. So this is my home page here, and the first thing I have to do, I have to create this connection. All right, awesome. What's the next thing? I've created my connection. The screen pops up. The next thing is to create the database or schema. Excellent. So I create the connection, but there are no databases created. So the next thing I do is I create a database. All right, awesome. So that's what we are going to start with today also. Then we are going to look at the CRUD operations. In CRUD, the C stands for create. R is read. U, and last one is read. Excellent. So we are going to see the same operations working in Node.js now. How do we work these into Node.js? Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So we are coming back to. I have to see here. We are coming back to Node.js. So the first thing, let's go ahead and let me see. I see. Okay, so this is going to be, it's not as complicated, but focus on this. Then you guys can do the exercise later on. We'll do the exercise on this one. But it's a Node.js syntax again, so just concentrate how I'm doing this, and then you guys can follow the same thing. Okay, so the first thing, I created a JS file. So now I have to make a connection from MySQL, from my Node.js to MySQL. Okay, and we saw, for example, when I had to make an HTTP call from Node.js to HTTP, make an AJAX call, what did I do? What was the first step? Or when I was talking to the file stream, the FS, what was the first step that I did? Require. Excellent. So that's the same thing over here. The first step, what we are going to do is we are going to use a require. So of course there's a library, Node.js library that exists, and it's called, surprise, MySQL. So we are going to create a variable. I'll start with let. Oops. Okay. We are going to do a require, and it's called MySQL. Okay. And let me go ahead and share this link here. So Node.js MySQL library exists, and Google MySQL Node.js, it will bring you to a GitHub page, and they have a lot of documentation. This is the code for that library that we're using in require, and in that they have their documentation is really good. They have explained everything how to do. The mostly we'll be spending time in performing queries and making the connection. The first thing is we have to make a connection after using the required keyword. Okay. So since it says require MySQL, this means I have to do a npm install, right? And locally, since it's a require. So we'll go ahead and do that after I complete my code. So the second thing is make connection to my database. Okay, the second thing, I have to write code to make a connection to my SQL database. The database that we are going to be using today does not exist. So before we make a connection, let's go back to our MySQL workbench, and I'm going to create the database. Again, you guys don't create the database, just take a look at it. This code is already on your GitLab. You don't have to do this. The activity that you guys are going to do is similar, but it's a different database. So don't create this one unless you really want to, because I'll be doing little bit copy pasting so that we can quickly create a database and put some rows inside it. Okay, so the first thing is I want to create a database, right? So the first statement says create a database, and this is called ice cream. Okay, let's go ahead and run this one. And I'm going to refresh. It's going to create a database. All right. The second thing that I need to do is create a what is the second thing that I do after creating a database? Huh? Create a table. Yeah. So now I have to create a table. Now I have a database, but it doesn't have anything inside it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a table. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. So going back to the query, create table. The table name is called products. I have a primary key called ID, which is not null auto increment. This means it's going to keep adding one with every insertion. Okay. Then I have a varchar 45 characters long, flavor, price, and quantity. Okay, so in ID you see the word int, right? The way it is written over here, it's same as integer. MySQL has both keywords. Again, it's to cater to the population that is kind of coming from a programming background that uses int and integer also. So int, integer, both are the same thing. You can use any one of them. Okay. Decimal is another data type that exists in MySQL. What it is saying is decimal means the point, right? So 10.27, this is the decimal part, right? So what this is saying is that my decimal number can be 10 digits long, and it's going to have 2 decimal places. So 10.27 is also right. 93.96 also right. 100.9678. In this, what will happen is it will only show you the first 2 points after the decimal. That's what it is. It will round it off. Yes. So when you query, it's going to return you the 2 decimal points. Quantity is integer. And the keyword that you see at the end here says null, null, null. This is same as, you can remove it. This means that these values can be null. By default, these can be null. If you don't want them null, you have to put not null. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and run this one. See if everything works. Okay, all green. Open my table. I have a table called products. Okay. Now I have a table. It has columns. The last part I need to do is I have to insert data inside it, or rows. So I have to add some rows to it. All right. So I'm going to insert some rows, and the query for that was insert into the table name and then all the column names and those values. Okay. So it looks something like this. I'm inserting into products. I have a flavor, price, quantity. I'm not specifying the ID because it's auto incremented. It's going to add that ID on its own. Okay. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to run this. Okay. Write a select query really quickly. Say select stack from products. Okay, so I have one row. Let me go ahead and insert two more. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. I'm going to do a select. It shows me 3 rows. Okay. Any questions on this? All right. Similar what we saw on Saturday, inserting queries. So this is what we have to do in our database, and that I think that would be the extent of that for today. Now what we need to do is we have to perform all these operations, the CRUD operations, but we are going to do it from Node.js this time. Okay. So now I have my var added. If I look at the documentation, you know, they have shown you in the documentation how to go about and establishing that connection, and that's what we are going to follow. Okay. So it looks like I have to create a variable and then call a function called create connection. Okay, and then I have to pass in host, user, password, and the name of the database, and then I have to do a connection.connect, and we'll come back to the query part later. So for now, I just want to make a successful connection and see if that works. Okay, so all right, looks like I have done the first part. Let me go and start with the second one. So I have to create a variable. I'm going to use let. I'll call the same thing connection, and MySQL dot create connection. Okay, I'm going to close this out over here. Okay, now going back to documentation, looks like I have to pass in a object, curly brackets, object. Okay, so I have to pass in a object, and the object has some details in it. Let's first create this. The first part is host. Okay, what's my host that I have created? The local host. Excellent. Awesome. All right. The next part is user password database. There are some options, port number also. So I'm going to give it a port. How do you find the port number? I would go here, go back to my first screen. If you see over here, there is an I at the bottom of this connection. If you click this, it will give you some details. Gives you localhost, user, and the port number. Port number is 3306. Okay, so I'm going to mention port number 3306 over here. Okay. Yes. No, you are not connecting to my database. So localhost means local to my machine. You cannot access my machine if you mention localhost. You are going to connect to your database that you create. So right now, this database only exists, the ice cream database only exists on my machine, so I'll be able to do it. You guys in the next exercise will outline you have to create a database, and that's what you will be accessing it. I'm just showing you how to, the code will be exactly the same, all you are changing is the next part. Okay, the next part said user, so I have created a user with root. Most probably you guys also created the user root, or you might have admin, whatever you guys created on Saturday. Okay, the next part is your password. Okay, so you guys are going to enter your password. If you just had a gendered one, you know, it should be okay, whatever you created. I created something silly, so I don't mind sharing it, so it should be okay. Okay, that's my password for my database. And the last part is the database name. Let's go back, and I want to see what I created my database with. Ice cream DB. Okay, I'm going to copy this. All right, looks like these are the 4 properties in my object that I need to pass in. For you guys, The only thing that would change, what I think, would be the database name when you create a new one, unless you guys had a different user and a different password. So these things are going to change. Okay. All right. So this, let's go back to the documentation. Looks like this is complete. This part I have complete. The next is making a connection. Okay. So I'm done with this part. I'm going to come outside. I'm going to say connection dot connect. Okay. So here you guys see the documentation. What does it say? It says connection dot connect. Connect is a function. The parameter is callback. So you are passing in a callback function. All right. Guys, be very careful. Make sure the callback function over here is async. Right? We saw in the async when we were making the Ajax call, it does not wait for the next line. And right now it will work, but when you are writing your CRUD operations, make sure you write those operations inside your callback function. What will happen if I complete this and I write my query on line 19? It will, exactly, it will try to run my query even before it makes a connection. So I want to make sure that I run my query after I have my connection done. Okay, so inside this, it's a callback function. I'm going to create a, and it takes in error. Okay, curly brackets, details. All right, this is the callback function. We saw some different ways to write a callback function. From those, I'm going to use the anonymous function one. All right, similar to the HTTP require request package. It's kind of similar function. So I'm going to say if there is an error, I'm going to log that error. Okay, and then I'm going to just return. I'm going to stop the functionality. I'm not going to go ahead from here. Okay. If it does not, if there's no error, so I'm going to log and say successfully connected. Okay. Go back. Let's see. And I read the documentation before coming to the class, so I'll put something over here. But as we go through the documentation, you guys will see with ID, when you make a connection, this connection will give you ID. It's kind of ID to tell you that the connection has been done, and this is the ID. For now, we won't be using this ID, but this ID I'm going to console log so that we can make sure that we connected successfully. Okay, it's called thread ID. This is again just to make sure that we had a successful connection and we get an ID back. All right. The last thing is, guys, and it's I've seen this even professionally. This is one of the most ignored thing. When you open a connection, guys, especially to the database, make sure you close it when you are done. What happens is if you don't close and your application is being accessed from multiple avenues, they'll keep opening the connection, and at some point your database is going to go down. Your application will go down. And I have seen these issues more times than I like. We always forget to end the connection or break the connection. Very important. So once you are done, I'm going to go ahead and end this connection so that my database gets disconnected, no more requests coming in. Okay. And this is the code for making a connection from Node.js to MySQL. Questions? Okay, kind of similar to the request, the HTTP request we were making. I think even the file stream was similar. Right? Instead of the connect method, it was a different write file. It's kind of similar. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this and see if this worked. Okay. Let me go back. Okay, I'm in 06, CD 06. Okay. Node. All right, so I get an error. Cannot find module MySQL. What am I missing? Yep, npm install MySQL. All right, looks like that is done. Let's go ahead and run this again. Let me clear this so that you guys can see this. Okay, so it says successfully connected with ID 37, whatever the ID is. So I am able to make successful connection. All right, and that's how you make a connection to MySQL. After that, what I can do is I can go ahead and write some queries, bring the data into my application, and that's how you guys will be working also. And this is a more usual term. The SQL kind of exists in its own. There's an application that we saw the API part, right? And this is the backend kind of deal. This is how the APIs work. We were calling some third-party APIs. Behind the scenes, this is what they're doing. If their application, their API is written in Node.js, this is what they do. They make a connection to their database. Could be MySQL, could be SQL Server, Oracle, anything. And then they get the data, they make a connection, they make those queries, get the data, and then display it to you. Okay, and we will see those operations next. Before we proceed, I want to see if there was anything. Okay, any questions? All right, so here's, before you guys start the exercise, I'm going to leave this code out there. The exercise is going to be similar. You're going to make a connection. The only thing different is going to be a different database. You guys are going to create something related to a music app. That's what we are creating. Okay, we'll send out the details. But here's another part. When you try to do it, I'm not going to say might, most 90% of the time, I think the probability is very high. You're going to get an error. I want you guys to Google that error and find out. And the reason I'm saying is I also faced that error and I didn't know what to do with it. I just Googled it. Probably in the first couple of links, you'll find the solution. I want you guys to find that solution, implement it, and then help somebody else out. If it doesn't work, I'll show you what the solution is, but I'm pretty sure you guys are going to get a connection error. All right. The error is Googleable. Copy the error, try to find out and see how you can fix that error. Okay, but first thing, start with creating a database. So let me go ahead and send you the instructions. The instructions are a little bit different on the GitLab, because they're asking you to do CRUD operations. We haven't seen those yet, so I don't want you guys doing that for now. So let's see, this. Okay, so I've slacked out the instructions. And again, the reason I didn't want to copy paste the exact one, so I didn't ask the TS, because the instructions are a little bit different. And these are, I just want you guys to do the connection part right now. Don't worry about the CRUD operations, because this might take a little bit, especially if you run into that error. All right. And all the exercises were uploaded to GitLab. So if you want to look at some of the queries that we did on Saturday, go back, refer to that material. You will see some files called, which are ending in .sql, .sql. We'll see what that means, but if you click it, you will see all the instructions, all the queries that are there. So use that. First thing, create a database in MySQL Workbench, and then come to this and start writing code for that one. This is how the code will look like. Go back and see. I'll post the solution after the class, but I'm not going to code this one out. I want you guys to go ahead and code this, because it's very, very, very similar to what I have on the screen right now. Yes.
Are we naming this ice cream?
No.
Can't be anything.
What's kind of art title, artist, and genre? I would hope you won't name it ice cream DB. You can name it playlist DB. Yeah. So from the column, looks like it's a title, artist, genre. So let's call it playlist underscore DB. Seems more appropriate than ice cream. Or you can, you can name it anything you want.
No, I just didn't see that.
Yeah, it doesn't say over there. Yeah. Playlist DB. Let's call that. So some good questions. The columns data types have not been mentioned. Again, it's the purpose is you guys decide what you want. Seems like all of them. If I was doing this, I would just create all of them varchar with different lengths. Title, artist, genre, all of them look to me like strings except the ID. ID would be integer.
So YouTube does come up, but only if you open in incognito.
Oh,
I think,
are you serious?
yeah. So something's wrong with like their authentication or something. Like I think it's probably just Chrome. Like if you're signed into Chrome,
Yeah.
it won't work. But if you just go to YouTube directly here, it should come right up. So.
So you don't sign in? Well, I have to sign in, right?
Well, if you just go to YouTube.com,
Oh,
it'll
YouTube.
bring up everything. So it brings it up just fine. So
Okay.
you could try signing in from here, and then try and doing the link here. But
Okay.
I think it might be like if you're signed in with Google Chrome, that might be one of the issues for it or something. So I'm not really sure.
Okay. So can he actually see the stream?
No,
He cannot.
I don't think so.
Well, because I'm streaming.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I've started the stream. The only thing is I was not able to get to the YouTube, so I cannot send the link. That's what I was. So the streaming, just not
Oh, okay.
streaming from here. Oh, I mean it's not just showing up. So if it's something with my account.
Yeah, if you can start up from here. If you can post a link, then I'll let Fernando know that just open up like an incognito tab and have him do it from here.
Okay. As soon as I get this.
Just want to make sure that it works before.
Yeah. So I'm signed in. So now if I do
Same
YouTube Live, it should show. Oh, it doesn't come up.
Yeah. So it's something with authentication and for YouTube. Someone broke something.
Oh, that's kind of bad because the problem with this is if I start Panopto, it crashes like within a minute or something.
Oh, really?
Might be the updated Mac version. I updated Mojave. That's why I went back to what it is. So I don't know how to share this.
Well, if that's live,
That's what I was saying. That
oh, but it's still through an account though. So I think you have to.
And that's where you're saying this object, both objects.
Yeah, if it requires authentication for you to post a link, then.
well, so the interesting thing is that the link is the previous one. It just like kind of. I don't think it generates. That's why I was saying. But you were able to see the stream, right? It went down.
Let me try it again.
Yeah.
So you have to have primary key ID. Yeah, you can just have that after the genre.
See, so an issue you have with that is someone's backing out that the other guys can say. But they're not supposed to. But people do that is an operation. So a semi-flirt prevents that. So that way only one person prevents his ID. If you do it that way, that means only one person can ever look at it.
And make sure it's a comma after genre.
Well, no, to add, so you allow your permissions to different windows. But you already have a key or something. So then what you can do is you can open up an object by default. It opens up to view and read. But if someone already has it locked, that means they open up in view only, and then I can see what's view only.
That would be fine. I don't know the syntax actually for the connection. Just
Pretty bad, yeah.
create connection.
So I'm just saying, I don't want someone working on something else.
All right. At this point, everybody should at least have the database part done. Anybody who's not, did everybody get the database part done at least? Okay. What's the error?
Yes.
What's the error? Something wrong with the. Okay. No, I'm saying the database is MySQL workbench, where you're able to create the tables and everything.
The movies, the actors, join the tables.
Right. Okay, we'll come back to that. Did you Google that error?
This is the
Should see those.
Okay, what's the? Can you post the error on Smash?
Check it out.
Post it on Smash.
I don't know. You already have it, so like, I already inserted.
So everybody at least able to get the database up and running. What I mean by that is, make a table called playlist DB and put a rows inside it. Is that done?
It's an error because this
Okay.
wasn't the real ID.
Does it matter what we have inside the row?
No, it's okay. The 3 columns and ID. That's it. And I know at least one of you guys are able to make the connection. Anybody else who successfully made the connection? 2? Yeah, from Node.js app to MySQL. Okay, did you guys have to do the weird thing? Okay. So those of you who are done, make the connection. If you have some time, please walk around and see. There are some people who are still having some issues. See if you can help. I'll also walk around and see. What did you post your error? That I can You guys are going to every time. Connection here?
I don't know the syntax.
Okay, over here.
I mean, like I have that.
Okay.
But after that, what do I run as create connections?
Yeah, the last part, line number 18. Connection dot connect. That's the function. And in the function, it takes a callback function. This is what you do. And it should come out and say it's successful.
Connection object.
Okay. So I gotta be in that folder.
You build it to
Yeah. So
you build it
let me.
and you fill it with
Let's see where the playlist read.
and then this you use this to connection to what's the other stuff that you do? So the
David,
MySQL
Mia,
workbench
how far are you guys?
allows you to connect directly with your MySQL databases, and then this right here is actually opening the JS connection to that database. So yeah, so you're gonna create the database using MySQL instead of MySQL. You're gonna connect to it. Does that make sense? So this runs under your studio code, and inside of here, basically you would create a new JS file, and then inside that JS file you're gonna put code, and there should be an identifier up here. And then you create the database using MySQL.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna run
Yeah. It's the same port and everything.
YouTube experiencing worldwide outage.
Daniel must have the same.
Yeah, maybe they're using the same MySQL. And are you guys making the connection to YouTube or something?
They're actually using Amazon.
Yeah, it's Amazon went down. Yeah.
Amazon just turned it off.
Yeah.
Question is who's going to claim responsibility for it?
Yeah.
So for YouTube?
Actually, it's in the news that it's a outage going worldwide.
Oh,
Yeah.
UK, Europe, everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
So it's serious.
Yeah.
Should have streamed today, huh?
Huh? No streaming?
Should have streamed today.
It's not that bad, David. I feel bad. Yes.
I just want to know if this is the area we're talking I've been getting an error multiple times. I just now responded. I wasn't sure which error.
Yeah, now you got the right error.
Error not.
Okay, yeah, we're on the same page.
I was just going to see if
It's a race now.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, right?
Let's see.
How the hell does that happen?
That's not good. It should be.
I've got this insecure off set to true.
What is that?
It's an insecure off true being added to waiting close.
No.
It's telling me to do, but it does nothing.
Yeah.
Why?
Keep searching.
Oh, okay.
I get it. Mia, you're better than us.
You got it working? You got it working?
Didn't do anything.
Oh, really? Without doing anything? Wow. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I did.
That is it? Yeah. Try to do it. Because you have to design your password, you have to put in the other than that, messed it up or not.
And so I can just leave the local host as is, right?
Is that what it is? Your user ID is root?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
so you have to mention these two, right?
Yeah, that's what I have there.
Okay, then that's good. The only thing I cannot help you guys with is remembering your password, so I'm sorry about that. Yeah, what was my password? Don't you remember my password?
Yeah, because the old way, you used to saying root at local host is not.
Google Again, this is what you had, root and some password. Remember that?
Basically, users root. That's good.
Go to my SQL workbench, see that I symbol on the main page, make sure that that's.
Then you have to click on the page.
This one, I'm saying this, if you go on the top, this home page here, you should have this, and then this I.
Windows version doesn't have an I.
Really?
It's the same thing, it just doesn't have an I. It has
Oh.
a page that peels off the corner.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay.
User counts like root.
Oh, okay. You can clear it, and I guess you can try it. But you have the right query. That's what it is. Let me make sure. Did you do with flash privileges at the end? Dylan, did you do the last thing?
Flush privileges?
Yeah. Yeah. Read the Stack Overflow completely. Yeah.
Yeah, the community one. That's the one I remember first minutes. Yeah, the community one is the free version. And that'll install, MySQL Server and all that stuff. So yeah, as long as you hit
I don't know if I like
Oh, the top one is just the web install. So, yeah, so either one will work. So one just is a smaller. Oh, well, yeah, I have it here. Oh, you got it to work.
We're fast. And the database is the free. Right, that's what you want to do. Right. Well, Node.js is
Well, I'm still getting your I'll change this.
in order to right? Oh yeah, That's the note. Just go to some years. I can the altar. Yeah. For some, for me, that's the. I might give you a couple pizzas. Oh yeah. A lot of falls. This is that.
But you get 24 teams.
Yeah, this is still silent.
Local host. I tried a few things. I changed
This is
this. I had it originally like that. It's still not working. I've been doing this. So
they say make these.
Yeah.
Go back to your phone. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't try here.
If this wasn't
And this, you have the right password in your code also Node.js. Same thing.
Yeah.
Different issue?
It worked.
I saw that. I was like,
Rebooting. It's like, I didn't have good password here. It just says your password. Media problem solved.
but this is the this is our network. Where is that's
did you try the flash privileges after this? Yeah, so kind of like if it's in the cache, it kind of refreshes the cache, so we'll try that. Did you remember your password?
Did you write
This is the actual.
Oh, which one do you go to? The one you decided to there next to her?
Looks like almost everybody is done. Who's not able to? Keith, are you done? What happened? Oh, okay. Still not working? I worked on it. Okay. Yeah, you can. I think it's almost done. Is it ready? You have a password, right? Because two people have probably had their passwords wrong. So you did the fresh privileges, you did this, and this is your MySQL Workbench password. And you ran this. Successful? Both of them were successful? Great.
This is part of the
George,
I'm curious.
I was trying to figure out how to work, but it's not. A lock first we have to figure out this flex privilege.
Kevin, could I help you?
Well, I'm trying to figure out what.
It doesn't look alright, so we'll be server. So
Well, if you modify the tables, you might have to do revoke because it stores.
oh my god.
We didn't do that. I'll just make a note of it just in case. But we need it.
No, it's just creates like a.
From what I read, it resident permissions like
Oh, right there.
So actually get your.
I thought it's not reading, so we alter here, it's still reading that. So I flex privilege forces it to get rid of that, but memorize. And it brings actually use it.
I don't even have the
Yeah, so it's got that's what I read. Good to know, but I mean, if it works without it, yeah, robotic.
So that's what I was thinking.
There it is. So again,
And in that directory, I have the MySQL correct. And then my ports.
Yeah. Alright, so here's like,
Yeah.
I have more factors. So for grade 3,
Uniqueness.
my drops.
You can have tables there. You're able to enter
Mine too. I had your last mod date there, but we were talking about see that way.
Yeah, it's just like, so you try the alter user flexibility.
No, that's this year. This is It's just get locked.
Yeah.
This is a lot less.
Do you have a package for JSON?
It's down below.
That's what.
First question I found for
Oh, maybe I just spelled it
Stack
wrong.
Overflow. It's like the second answer.
That's what I was. So what this is supposed to do, every language has a thing different, right? This one, this is the lock, and this is the amount of seconds it's going to take. So one time, negative numbers.
Oh, okay.
That's the concept. So what should happen is, we're going to have this because this is all in the same connection. It's going to happen. I'm going to be able to select this lock. And then when I create a new connection,
And I double check that by going back here.
one of them will return 1, the other's going to be 0.
Now why I'm multiple instances plus a multiple connections. That hasn't been a problem.
Okay, so now we can prove it. Alright, so check this out. So if I do this,
Why I have 2 of them.
so I executed that. Here. So if we look here, we got a 1 successfully connected. Now if we try making that same same. So it's already right there.
Instead of here,
Okay, there we go. Alright, so now if I execute this. Running through it's going to run for 10 seconds. Up 1 second. I'm not sure what this 10 is yet. It says it's 10 seconds. 0. So this one over here still has its connection. So this one got a 1. So yes, you can continue on. Yep. You can have submissions. And then someone else comes along, they execute, they get a 0. They're only allowed to
No, that doesn't say undefined, it says ID undefined. Mine?
everything would pass the rest.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Now, this guy over here, he's done. He has to be not like this.
Yeah, you don't have that. So that's connection. He has no red ID now. But I don't know.
And if I go back over here,
you guys get there.
it's
It's perfect. It's perfect over here.
and execute.
Don't run the code that Kevin gives you. He found the wrong Google link.
Let's see which one.
Yes.
What is the red ID again?
Connection drawn. So
Red ID?
Oh, it gives you the unique ID that your connection is like it's an internal ID.
The reason I ask is it's printing him undefined.
It's however you want it. You just execute the line to get this.
I mean, it connected successfully to ID undefined.
Effectively, it's just a sequence.
Yes, we can look at the MySQL Node.js documentation that I sent and see what it is. Yes. Not yet. 15 months.
Just wondering.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds good.
Just waiting everybody to be done so that we can start the next part.
This can be 16 characters. It looks like the time is like how long it's going to take before connection. So if you can provide 1, it's going to try 1 second. Before you sit here and 1.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Go backwards.
It's how long it's going to take. So
All right, 5 more minutes and then we are going to start on the next one.
2 seconds. So that's what it is. Yeah, so we can put the trigger in. We put it in the trigger, we put it in logic.
we know,
Yeah, yeah, we can deal with the trigger. That's what we can use. Actually, just improve this one real quick. Alright. So here, one. Oh, so alright, so I locked it. I got one extent. I'm going to dump this connection. And now, I'm going to try to make that same connection. One. Bam.
So MySQL knows that, hey, I'm going to start at 1, keep auto incrementing until I hit.
So we don't have any trigger regular inputs. So
yeah, so we don't have to supply
actually, it kind of wants to. I've never seen it as a trigger. So we've always used it as logic because it's the workflow that you want to run. I don't know why trigger makes help us.
Yeah, it's right here.
So you have the name. That's it. So we built that generally you're going to like lock on its processing. Not necessarily lock on the So when you explain to your scenario how you have an object can create.
All right, let's go ahead and start the next part.
You basically only use the semicolon then two people. So you semicolon rejected using this someone else.
Okay, so next we are going to look at the CRUD operations.
Right? Generally, we always do the lock.
Alright, so at this point we were able to make a successful connection. We saw some error, resolved it. So we are now able to connect to MySQL through Node.js. Right? Now what we are going to look at, we are going to see how to perform each of these operations in Node.js. Alright? So let me look at this documentation, and in this documentation there's a section for queries. No, not this one. Let's see. Bing. Pool cluster, preparing queries. Oh, performing queries. Okay. So in this section, whatever you see on the documentation for MySQL in Node.js, this is what we will be following. Right? So you guys go ahead and read it on your own time and look at how it is, and I'll show you the basic operations that are outlined over here. But everything that I'm doing is mentioned in the documentation. Alright? So the first thing is the create part. So I'm going to do the read part. So read is the select query. So I'm going to write the select query, which is going to go to my database, which is this one. Ice cream is going to get all the products that are in it. You guys are going to write it, select using a different database because you guys have a different one. So it's not going to look as the same one. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is I can write my query here, but I'm going to create a separate function and then call that function inside it. Okay, so I'm going to say function okay, and I'm going to call it select all. Okay, let's go back to the open the documentation here. Okay. See, my connection is a global variable, so I have to do connection dot query, and then I'm going to write my select query inside it. Okay, so since my connection is kind of not kind of, it's the global variable, so I can use this inside this method. So I can say let me log this. So I'm going to say reading from DB. Okay, so it says connection dot query. Okay, and in my query I'm going to close this. All right, so it looks like my query takes a SQL string and a callback function. All right, so the first one would be my query, and this is going to be my callback function. So I'm going to put it as empty. Let's see. Okay, so my callback function has error, results, and fields. So let's go ahead and try the first two and see what it is. So I'm going to say error. Let's go back and copy paste this. I'm going to use these two fields and see what comes back. Error and results. Okay. Connection dot query. The first parameter is my SQL string, and the second is the callback function. Results, as you can guess, this is what my results are going to come in. All right. So let me create a string called SQL query. Let me call it read query. And I'm going to write my query here. Same as the MySQL one, there's no change here, so I'm going to say select star from my table name is products. Okay, no need to put a semicolon or anything, and this should work. So instead of this, I'm going to mention read query. Okay, now if my connection and everything is successful, I should see something. Let's go ahead and put a if error. Oops. Okay, I'm going to log this error, error, and then return. I want to keep going. If there's no error, let's go ahead and start with console log the results, and then we'll see how the results are coming back. How do we parse it? Okay. What else? Format this so it looks better. So I have my connection query. Okay, looks all good, and I'm missing the calling part. Now I have my function here. Okay, connection.query is a method I put in my query, and then call that query. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, so this is the read operations. I just need to call this method. So I want to call this method when I have a successful connection. So I'm going to call this here, select all. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this connection.end from here. And I'm going to close my connection in this method so that when I'm done. All right. So let's go ahead and run this and see what comes back. All right. So looks like I'm able to read from the database, and this is kind of looks like JSON. Let me run this again. Okay. So this is what I'm getting back. All right. Looks like JSON. It has properties. Each of these are the columns. All right. And I had 3 rows in my database, and this is what it returns. All right. Now you see over here it says row data packet. I know it looks like an object, and this is how you would access. If I was looking at this one, how would I access this? I would say something like results dot row data pack. Well, actually, if you see this is a square bracket, so it looks like it's an array. So I'll have to say results something, let's say 0 dot, and then the object name row data packet. Right? I mean, looking at this is how I would do it, but the thing is, it's kind of misleading. That's not how it works. We can totally ignore the row data packet, whatever that is, and then we can just start from here, these objects. So this is an array of objects which doesn't actually have a name. So how many objects are there? There are 3 objects right now. ID 1, 2, and 3. So I can access these just by saying results 0, and this should give me the first object. Okay, you see row data packet. So you can ignore the row data packet, whatever the keyword is. Start from here. So it's result has your array of objects. That's what it is going to return. All right. Now each of the property name is actually your column name. So let's suppose I want to access my ID. What would I do over here? I will say dot ID. I would just put in my column name. This should give me the first object and the first column. Okay. No, nothing like that. No, it's already parsed, and you can access it just like a JSON object. What else was there? Let me go back and see. My flavor. Okay, so I can access my flavor column here. Run this. Shows me this flavor. Now if I had like 3, right? So I can change this to 1. So this now goes to my second row. Second was chocolate, so this is how you go. Okay. The important part is this query. It's exactly the same thing as we had MySQL. There's no change, for at least for the read part. All right. So now you guys go ahead and try this on your database. Do the same thing using the playlist database, if that's what you call. Run this query, and it should output however many rows you inserted in it. Okay. Question?
Yeah, every time I try and run this, whether or not it works, my terminal freezes.
Okay.
See if it works. And then now it's frozen.
Connect.
Is it because I have this /run?
What, are you ending the connection inside this method?
No, I had it out here, but then it wouldn't run it.
Yeah, it has to be inside. Inside after the console log
the results.
Well, after this query is complete. Is that where you had it? After the select all. After this, this callback function. Yeah, inside select all after the callback function. So I can move this inside also as soon as I'm done. I don't really have to wait here. Oops. So as soon as I'm done console log, I can end the connection here. I don't need this anymore after this. So yeah, I can end it over here. Did that work?
Is there a way to make IDs start at 0 instead of 1?
Well, you can try inserting 0.
It just bothers me because the ID is 1, but the index is 0.
Yes.
Okay. You just have to change your column properties.
Column properties.
Unless you probably don't want to do that.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's
A lot
probably
of
not
the time,
worth it.
a lot of the time you end up setting default values to 0, and then if something ever executes, you don't really want the return of an actual object. You might want an error. So if you end up having a bunch of stuff as of 0, that's actually going to get returned, and sometimes that's cross-state with contamination.
Yeah, that's true, but if you have a column that auto increments, it starts at 0, you won't have any cross contamination.
No, but you would end up with that one line at 0. Just throwing that out there. That's
I understand. I'm just saying, like, if you're auto incrementing, you can start from 0, 129, 3,222. It doesn't matter which one. But it starts at 1 just because it's. I mean, arrays obviously start at 0, but everything else starts at 1.
Ideally, we want to do a get ignore on this somewhere, right?
For what exactly?
Well, since we installed the package, I have 147 commits now.
Oh yeah. For the node modules folder, yeah. You'd want to create a get ignore in there.
Well, I have one in the node module, but it's in a different map, so I just want to, like, this is just in my overall classwork folder, so I don't have one for that.
So which one of you posted this on Reddit? I came across at work today this. Was it one of you guys? So how's that possible? That's a big coincidence. Was it you?
Posted it where? On Reddit?
Yeah, it was on Reddit.
Yes, it is.
I was like, somebody must. That's true.
Someone in one of those classes somewhere.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
Yeah, what subreddit do you
Huh?
go on?
It was on.
Slack that?
Oh.
What subreddits do you go on?
Yeah, let me check what's the subreddit was this in. It wasn't funny actually. It wasn't even like CS related or anything. That's what is more surprising. Yeah. Yep. Working? Yes.
Again? That was a part of the song. Reminding my business.
No, I disagree with that. Starting here. They're empty.
Okay. So let's look at the other three. After that we'll take a break and then we'll work on that project. Okay. So the next one would be insert. Okay. So I'm going to create a new function and I'm going to call it create product. Okay. You guys are going to call it create playlist or something like that, right? Okay. Same thing, query, connection.query, it's the same method. Let me do a console log inserting to DB. Okay. Let's go ahead and write the query in a different string. So I'm going to say create query. Okay. Well, this is going to be different. So let me go back and start with this method. So it's connection dot query. Okay. Function close takes in a connection query and then same thing callback function. Okay. No name. Same thing error and result. Error and results. Okay, let me call results. Okay. So far, no change. There's no difference between this and the select all. Same method connection.query, same thing. All right. You can just copy paste it. Now the difference would come when I start writing this query. So there is actually another parameter. We'll see after that. Connection and after
End of the select all.
yeah. Well, actually, at the end of this callback function. So I'm doing it inside my callback function because I rethought about it and I don't need it after that. So after my whatever this callback function is, that's when I end it. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and good reminder connection dot end, and then we'll come back here. Okay. All right, now I have to populate this thing. This is very important. Okay, this is kind of a little bit different. So the query in MySQL was insert into table name values, right? This is a little bit different in Node.js. Okay, it's insert into my table name products and then the keyword set. So where was this keyword set in MySQL? Update. Yep. So in Node.js, when you're using the MySQL module, insert and update are kind of similar. All right. So you will say insert into product set and then question mark. Question mark over here means placeholder. And instead of question mark, you're going to pass in the values that you want to insert. Okay. And how are we going to do that? You're going to stop here. Comma, this is the second second parameter, and this would be an object. Okay. Again, when you're doing an insert or creating, it's the same method called query, connection.query. The first parameter is the string. The query insert into product set question mark. The second parameter is going to be your data that you want to insert. And the third is a callback function. Okay. Now, how do I set these values? So my columns were flavor. Okay. Let me set this flavor. Okay. My second was price. I'm going to set a price. It was decimal. Okay. My third was quantity. Okay. I'm going to quantity to 40. Let me move this to new line so that you guys can see. And that is my create product. All right. Again, so the first is the string insert into products, your table name, set question mark, and question mark is the placeholder. It will take these values and put it over here. And my Node.js does that for you, but that's how it works. Okay. And inside your second parameter is an object, and that is the values that you want to insert. So this would be the column name. These will be the values. So for you guys, it would be artist, name of the artist, genre, whatever the third was. Okay. ID column I'm not inserting because it's auto-generated, so don't have to worry about that. And then it's going to call this function, and we can just same thing. If error, then I want to console log that, and then return. Okay. If it is successful, then I will say let's see what result returns, and then we can form our query. What do we have to show the message? So I'm going to console log results. Okay. So I have all these things in my initial connection. I will comment this out and I will call the other function instead. So I will call create product. Okay. And this, it will go ahead and create my product. So let me clear this on this. And there it is. It says successfully connected, inserting to DB. And this is the result. All right. I just did a raw result output, and this is what it comes back. So from these, what I'm interested is in affected rows. This will tell me if it is positive, it means it was successfully inserted. All right. And this is also interesting. Insert ID. So this is the ID that is being auto-generated. Right. This will show you if this works. And you can access this again. You can ignore OK packet, and I can see this is not an array, it's an object. So I can access it as results dot, let's say, affected rows, and this should give me answer as 1. Okay. Well, if I run it again, it's going to go ahead and insert a new row. But this is how you can access. Let me change something. Rocky Road 2. It's a little bit more expensive. Okay, so you see it says 1, so this is the affected rows. So just like that, you can access any of the properties. All right. Questions?
Where did you put the actual function to create a new row? Like where in your code did you do it in a specific function?
Yeah, query.
Connection query.
And connection.query. So when we were doing a select all, reading it, we did connection.query and we put in the query. It's the same function. Just the parameters are different. Insert into, and this is very, MySQL is particular. If there's a typo in insert or anything, it's not going to work. It's going to throw an error.
I guess what my question is, like, so right now our select all function has our connection end in it. It also has our connections query in it.
Yep. Connection query. Same thing here.
Where do you call that?
Yeah, basically, because like we have our select all functions in our actual connection.connect.
Yeah, I commented that part out and I called my create product inside my connection.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say because it's like you wouldn't want it to do both.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can, but yeah, you don't want to do it. I don't want to do that.
Otherwise, you're always gonna create a new playlist.
Right.
The same thing.
Yep, and it's selecting. Okay. Any questions on the create? Yes.
One of my variables is a boolean.
Okay.
Boolean. So if I add the data, like say true or false, it's giving me an error.
What's the? You put it in code or without?
You said the install for Mac is so much easier. It's like literally four screens. Installing was really easier. You didn't have to worry about I took about
I don't want to see it. Alright, so two more. The next one is delete and update. Let's do the update one. So update one is it's same as the insert. Instead of insert, you're going to say update. So let me go ahead and create function update product. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and copy this. So I'm now updating to DB. Okay, we'll keep it that. Connection dot query, same thing. Connection dot query. Okay. The first is the query. The second is going to be an object, and then the third is going to be my callback function. Same thing. Okay. And then I have error and results. Error. Results. Okay. All right. Same thing. So now let's go ahead and put in the update query. Is going to be update my table name products. Okay. Set same as that. Question mark. And my update query has one more thing. The where clause, right? I want to update only certain number of rows, right? So where, and then same thing, put a question mark, a placeholder. We will write this, complete this query in our next parameter. Okay. Now let's suppose I had a. Okay. Now let's suppose I want to update my. So how many placeholders do I have? 2, right? Question marks. Those are called placeholders. So this means I'm passing in 2 different values. All right. So since I'm passing in 2 values, it's going to be an array of objects because I have 2 objects that I need to pass in. Okay. Insert only had 1 question mark or 1 placeholder, so I passed in an object and it worked. But update, I see I have 2 question marks. One is saying set. So what would be the query? Let's suppose I want to change the quantity. So my query becomes update products set quantity to 100, where the flavor is whatever flavor I given. Okay. So this query in the end is going to be update products set quantity is equal to 100, where flavor is equal to I'm going to put Rocky Road. Okay, this is a query that I'm trying to write in my Node.js now. So I have the first part done. I just need to pass in quantity is equal to 100 and flavor is equal to this. So I have two, since I have two objects, so that's why I have an array of objects. And that's how the update would work. So the first one is, I want to say quantity 100. Okay, and let's go to the second one, which is where flavor is equal to Rocky Road. Okay, let me format this. Let me just copy, hold on. Just log in the results and see what happens. Okay, so this is my update query. Again, update query has it says update products set quantity is equal to 100 where flavor is equal to Rocky Road. This is the query that I want to give it to Node.js, and the syntax would be update products set, and this part, because dynamic, right, I could change it to something else. So you say placeholder, which is a question mark, this will be replaced by this part, and where flavor is equal to this, so again a question mark, and these values are over here. Okay, an array of objects, and I have two objects going in. All right, so I'm going to copy this, call this on the top, and then run this. Okay, so I came back updating, it says rows affected 1. If I go to my database, my quantity has now increased from 40 to 100. All right, and the last one is,
Sorry.
yes,
Take out the end connection from the create product.
create product. No, it should be there. It's at the same location inside my callback function. So it should be.
Did you put it in this one too?
It goes everywhere. Yeah. The only thing is I'm not calling them at the same time. So you see I'm commenting those out. If you call at the same time, that the location might change, but I don't want to go there right now. So that's why. And I have a typo in my update product too. Okay. Okay. And the last one is delete. So delete query was delete from products or the table name where whatever you want to delete it. So it's going to be similar to this. Instead, there won't be any. There will be only one placeholder. So I will say function delete product. Okay. And then just copy this, deleting from database. Okay, connection.query function ends. First is my query, all right, second is my callback function, error and results. Okay, I'm going to format this, and I'm going to end my connection before I start anything. So I'm going to say connection dot end. Okay, now I'm going to update my query. Same thing, it's called delete from products. Oops, lowercase, where question mark. Oops. Okay, since I have a question mark, only one, I don't need an array anymore. I can pass in an object. So my second parameter would be simple an object. and I want to delete based on flavor. So I can say flavor Rocky Road. Okay. And then I'm going to simply console log results. Let me put this on the next line. Okay. Any questions on this one?
You still want the if error statement?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. So I want to make sure that there's any error. I can output this. I'm going to, thank you. Okay. So delete from products where one column. Okay. Let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to run this. Oh, error. Error is not defined. Error is not defined. Yeah. Affected row 0. Okay. Flavor delete from products. Go back and run this. Oh, deleted. Okay, I don't see Rocky Road over here. Let's say I saw strawberry. Let me delete that too and see. Just make sure it works. Oh, okay, there you go. So affected rows 1, so it deleted my one of the flavors. Okay, this is how you do the delete. Alright. We'll take a 15-minute break and we come back, we'll do the project. But I'm here. Any questions, let me know. Let's come back at 8:45. Wish. Oh, looks like YouTube is back.
We wanted to add.
Yeah.
So with the create playlist function where we insert into, if we wanted to add multiple, like let's say you wanted to add Rocky Road, Nutella, and Neapolitan, would you have an array of 3 objects and then do each one?
Try that and see if that works. I know how to do it in SQL. I can show you how to do it in.
I mean, I know how to do it in SQL.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah, I mean, we've done that.
Yeah, give it a try and see. I haven't tried multiples in over here. Let's see.
Because I know, like, where it only has where with question mark for 1, so
yeah.
I wasn't sure. Or it says set with question mark of 1.
Oh, this is how you can do it. So you will
instead of having set, it has values.
Values, yeah. It's like it works.
And it's just just brackets.
Yeah. So these are array brackets, the square ones. Values. This is an array. So it's an. So this question mark, you have to pass in an array.
Right.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think of.
and these are objects.
He has uncertainty.
So it should be an array of objects.
Oh, so he has favorite bands and sets the parameters there, or he has the test and sets the parameters there. Name, email, and end. So if I already have the parameters of my objects in SQL, do I need to do that?
You mean this part?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think you can skip it. Oh, this is just another way to write it. Try without it and see if it works. But this thing, I'm kind of confused. This seems like an array inside an array. It should be an object.
Well, he's
Oh, because he's using this.
yeah, he's putting the parameters and then just setting the array. To
So what you would do is you would do this and then objects. And then you will have your artist column name dot value.
So you just have an array of objects.
Yeah. Artist and then artist name.
Yeah.
John Ray.
Now we go back and have to switch a bit.
Right.
Switch function.
So it's YouTube.
They fixed it.
There's a meme for it right now.
No, there's some funny comments like, have you tried unplugging it?
And then there's logic to do it. That's why
It's just the caption is some programmer at YouTube right now.
Should be checked in into the easy file.
David again? Do it again.
How dare you insult me? You should be bowing to my infinite wisdom and awesomeness.
Group 6. That is not how you spell your name.
Oh. E-H.
E-H-R-E-N.
Now I have to rerun this now.
Well, while you're at it, I'm in there twice.
Oh, you were there twice?
I'm in 2 groups. I'm in group 6
You're
and
that
group
good.
4.
Yeah, so you have to be both groups. This was the...
You're helping both groups. Sweet.
So,
This activity is about time management.
Exactly. What's the point, George?
Is there just tonight's group?
2 kids, 2 groups.
Nobody wants them. Down.
Sorry. Everybody else is there? Any other thing before I run this? Surprise that new groups are coming.
So picky.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, jeez.
What happened?
We're together.
Oh, let me read on this now. Well, there's a 2. Let me...
Might be a throwdown now.
yeah.
We weren't okay with that?
One more. I'm going to look at the teams and decide.
Not like this when we run it.
Or is rerun it? Yeah.
She doesn't like me very Love it.
No, this is good. I'll go and manually. Yeah. This is semi-final. You guys get into groups and then I'll change it. All right. Is everybody here? Okay. So we'll go ahead and do this small project. All the instructions should be here. Okay. So let's see. Okay, until this one, let's see how many points. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. If you guys can do the first 4, that's really good. And that kind of goes through all these operations that we saw. So that would be nice. The next ones are kind of extra. You might not be able to get to it, but we'll pose a solution, go over it. But the first 4 at least, these kind of translate to all of these. Delete might not be there, but at least these 3 kind of translate to whatever the ask is. So go ahead, go through them, talk with your group, and see which one is which one is a create, update, read. All right. I don't think there's a delete over here, but if you want, in the extra one, you can create a delete one also. All right. So there's no HTML, so you're going to use inquirer hint. Whatever the input they're asking, use the inquirer package. Don't write any HTML for it. All right, just use inquirer, get the data in, post it to your database. So start with creating a database, see what columns. So the solution might be different what you guys come up with. You guys have probably will have different number of columns, different names of columns. So discuss and see whatever suits this use case. Come up with your own database diagram, database, and then go with that. Okay, I'll post this solution at the end of the class, so you guys can look at it later. All right, let me bring up the groups again.
We're sure we're okay with these.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You guys go ahead and get into these groups, and I might be changing it. So, but I want to see. I'm more like a visual person, so when I read this, I still don't get it. So when I see you guys, then I can move you guys around.
Group 3?
Should know everyone's name by now, but I do not.
I don't know.
Going to you? I'll go to you.
Aaron, can you move to group 6?
Group 6.
Yeah, last one.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I think Will can handle the group 1. I have full confidence on group 6. What? You're not in there? I want read on it. Let me see where I want you.
I don't know. I was in the restroom, so maybe that's why I wasn't in there.
So you. Anthony, get over there. You guys already do that?
Yeah.
You know George?
So,
Yeah.
They're right next to us.
group 2, Eric and Michael are going.
Eric and what?
Michael are are they?
Unless they left, where they those? Maybe they're taking a break.
Okay.
It only took like 4 tries for him to read.
All right. Yes. We are good.
I like stuff. I got yours.
We're in front with David.
Okay, you got it.
David and Corey.
We're gonna need to post this to GitHub and
You can add it to your portfolio, but for now.
Okay. It's meant for.
Oh no, not right. It's actually there. It wouldn't actually work even if it posted. What's kind of local host, so nobody would have it.
Who wants to? How's it going?
Michael, you are here.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, look at that. I might see so.
Oh, you need to?
Yeah.
Do it right, but I'll give it one good shot. So what are we doing?
So let's.
Oh, I see. Use the different.
For now. Yeah. So we're going to need to make a new file. Let's call it week12-Day02.
Yeah, good. Script language, like
for now, just comment this out and say function to prompt users with like
Danielle.
Yes. It'd be better if you guys are here. Is that okay?
Okay, it's fine.
It's fine. Now you're making me feel bad.
No, I'm just kidding. It is fine. It sounds sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we work within your rules.
Well, we have to have a database. And we have to.
Just
thanks.
I'm trying to figure out how you form it.
You expect us to do this like
The whole thing, yeah. The whole thing. You guys are capable. I have full confidence in you.
So I appreciate the confidence.
Yeah. No, do the at least do the first 4 bullet points. Well, actually, first let's see. Yeah, first 4. At least first 4. So those 4 are related to all these.
You're saying that we're not switching back to the stuff. Sit right in front of me.
so we can start with like
So I wasn't very good at require. You guys
You're not trying to so you can turn off your camera and drop it. And then
so let's create a JS font.
that's not an issue.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Actually, I bet there's like an option.
And here's the readme for it. So you need to what's someone's name? Yeah, you go for it. That's the playlist, right? And that was running. So, do we want to rename it? So, like, if you have multiple files, you can work in one for all your file systems. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the inquire separate.
Yeah, there you go.
Alright. So I should be able to put that here, right? So I'm assuming that
It would be the table. Would posting populate the table?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that information then. So are they're populating a table here? At least that's what I'm thinking.
Sorry. I would just say.
Well, the input, don't they type in what they want?
And then it's gonna have items as showing up just like that.
Well, let me see the example. So it
Yes. Plural. Jobs. They're all plural. Items, tasks, jobs, and
It's still on screen, yeah, so we don't have to. You
is,
want
question over there?
We can like shift down some. So they want they're gonna.
yeah.
That way we can like sit.
Oh, yeah. 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 The table. Yeah.
Does your computer not want your
So.
No.
Oh, got it.
My skill is different than the basic. Or not my
We're going to have two parts to it. One is
Yeah. You could create a JS file or copy that one and then duplicate that one and put it down in here by the README. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,